Hi, welcome back to Everyday Behavior. This is the second video on our series this month, and we're talking about how to improve our selection of reinforcers. So one of the things that we want to talk about before we do a preference assessment are all of the different types of reinforcers. Sometimes we get stuck in just looking at our edible reinforcers or activity reinforcers or those tangible reinforcers. But sometimes that can get expensive, it can add up, and it's not as natural as having those natural reinforcers like attention or things that are already occurring in the daily schedule or already exist in the home. And so when you're looking at reinforcers, I encourage everyone to think broadly. But while you're thinking broadly, also don't forget, if this is part of an intervention plan, you really want to think about how can I link the reinforcer to the function of the behavior? Because if you can link those two, typically your behavior intervention plan is going to have more longevity and is going to be more effective in the long term. So when we're thinking about reinforcers, we divide those into a couple of basic categories. One of the categories is edible reinforcement. So edible reinforcement is anything that you can eat or consume. And so think about all types of edibles. This doesn't just have to be candies or sweets. Some people are more salty and they crave things like chips or popcorn or those saltier snacks. And this can be things like carrots with ranch dip or hummus and pita bread. So think about all of your edible reinforcement. It doesn't just have to be a cookie or a cupcake or a piece of candy. So think about broadly what there is. Also, fruits can be really reinforcing. So blueberries or raspberries, blackberries, those little berries can be reinforcing. Raisins or dried fruits can also be reinforcing. So if you're trying to stay away from just candy or sugar-based reinforcers, think broadly. But I'm going to talk about a wide range of edible reinforcers. So think about your drinks, chocolate milk, juice, getting a drink from a gas station, getting a bottled drink from, maybe that's something that you have at home, but it's some kind of special drink. So there's water and there's milk, but then there's all of the other things. So I'm highly reinforced by caffeinated drinks, whether that's tea or coffee. I am really reinforced by those caffeinated drinks. Kids are different, but really think broadly and think about the age range. So your older kids are going to be more reinforced by maybe that stopping at the gas station to get a drink or one of those bottled drinks, whereas younger kids may be more reinforced by juice, your not energy drinks, but like your Powerade type drinks or your chocolate milk. Also think about your salty, savory snacks. Good things to think about here are things like trail mix. That tends to have a higher nutritional content, but also kind of falls in that saltier area. Think about chips and not just your junk chips, but could you do like sweet potato chips or some kind of healthier chip option there? There's also the unhealthy things like your French fries, your chips and queso for your older kids. But also think about things like popcorn. That's a relatively low calorie snack that can be used as a reinforcer. Also your fruits, these are some of your healthier sweet treats like blueberries, strawberries, mangoes, pineapple, but also your dried fruits. Just be aware that those dried fruits do contain a lot of calories or potentially sugar. And so if you're trying to limit that, just really look at how you're managing that. Then we come to our traditional sweet treats like your cookies, your candies, your fruit snacks, your Pop-Tarts, sugary cereals. Things that you can think about this are things like your dried marshmallows are really good, or just regular marshmallows. Those tend to be good. When you're thinking about snacks, you don't have to give a whole Starburst. You can buy the mini versions of a lot of things. So you can buy like mini Cheez-Its, you can buy mini M&Ms, you can buy mini marshmallows, you can cut your Starburst into 4 using a pill cutter. So if you don't want to overload somebody on an edible, you can cut those things into smaller versions just using a pill cutter. And many of those things are also available in a smaller version than the original version that we were brought up with. Don't forget your attention reinforcers. So these are written attention. So leaving a note, writing a card, a post-it note, sending a text, or giving a card. The written reinforcers tend to work better for your older kids, your teenagers. anybody who can read. Whereas your verbal attention, make sure that when you're giving verbal attention, it's dedicated, it's directed to the individual. So you're saying their name, you were saying something specific about what they did. Make sure it's not just, hey, good job, but hey, Mark, I really appreciate the way that you were listening while I was speaking. Whatever that is, just make sure that you make that directed, tell them exactly what they did. Your activity attention. So this is kind of a blend between activities and attention, but this is doing an activity together. So maybe it's running errands together. So as a parent, maybe you could select one of your kids who had earned it to run some errands with you. In a classroom, you can have a student come with you to be the teacher's helper. Or it could be just sitting down and playing a game together. So maybe you play a game of Uno together, or you sit down and play cars together, or play the train tracks together, but earning that undivided time, undivided attention with you. Another potential attention reinforcer is public attention. So telling others what they did and why it was special. So you aren't just telling them, but you're making sure everybody around them knows what they did and why that was special. You can do this through Facebook, either your personal Facebook as a parent, you can shout out for your kids, but in a classroom, you can shout out individual kids as well, or shout it out in your class page if you're protecting for confidentiality and whatever you just want to make sure that you're protecting FERPA in that as well. In escape reinforcement, we all like getting out of doing things. So I love when we get to go out to eat for dinner, because that means I don't have to cook and I don't have to clean up. That is one of my favorite escapes, is getting to go out to eat. But I also love to get out of doing the laundry, or love if somebody unloads the dishwasher for me, or if somebody washes the sheets or the towels for me. I love when somebody does something for me so I don't have to do it. And so this is escape, when you can escape a less preferred task. And so think about how you can do this for kids and for students. So getting out of a task, like getting out of doing a chore at home, can be reinforcing. Getting out of doing a homework assignment. As teachers, can you omit or remove a homework assignment? Not having a demand placed. So this could be getting to sleep in or getting to stay up late. So rather than having that demand of it's time to wake up, can you allow them to sleep in or delay it? Or delay going to bed. That's a good one to think about, that extra bedtime or that extra sleep time. But it can be extra break time or extra outside time, something like that. Not having to be around a less preferred item. So sometimes we like to retreat or escape being around people. We all kind of like that alone time. Kids like this too. So can they have alone time? Maybe that's in the room where their siblings aren't interrupting them, or maybe that's taking a break from the classroom and being away from everyone that's around them. So kind of escaping a less preferred stimulus, and getting to stay at home sometimes is really reinforcing as well. Taking a break, so a break from work, a break from a task, a break from a situation, that's also escape. And so how can they take a break from something that they prefer less? Also, we all love sensory stimulation. It can be really comforting and can serve as a reinforcer. So sensory type rewards are things like music, being able to listen to music, or swinging. A lot of people or older adults, we can all relate to getting to take maybe a long bath or something like that, getting to listen to music or go for a walk, things like that. They are activities. But sometimes kids really prefer some of that sensory stimulation or the absence of sensory stimulation. But this could be having access to a comforting object like a blanket or a preferred favorite jacket, or some kind of preferred clothing item that they really like. I love my blanket at home at night, and I love my pajamas. So those are kind of some sensory reinforcement type things for me. Having access to repetitive movement. So I'm fidgeting with my hands right now. I'm just sitting here fidgeting with my hands, but some kids really like that repetitive movement, like the swinging, the spinning, the fidgeting. So having access to some of those sensory type things, make sure this is as a reward, not contingent on undesired behavior, or having access to soothing sounds. So these are all types of reinforcers. Sometimes we get stuck and we have to give them something, we have to give them an activity, we have to give them an edible, but really broaden your perspective on your reinforcers and think about a broader range that you can capture when you're looking at behavior plans. Thank you so much for watching today. As always, these videos are sponsored in part with a contract with the Oklahoma State Department of Education, but you can find additional resources, additional videos, additional materials on our website at everydaybehaviors.com. You can also locate us on Facebook at Everyday Behavior with Dr. Mary Ann. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, or you can also soon find us through podcasts. We thank you for your attendance, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon in the future. Thank you.